shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled with it.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Welcome to Ngozi Talk Shows. The time has come for you to break away from the pain and experience the unthinkable. My name is Nomsa Clara Mncube. I am the founder of Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency and the founder of Ngozi Talk Shows. Over to you, Dr. Birgit. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Numsa. Do you know that palm trees, like the ones swaying on the beach in my home country, Indonesia, palm trees cannot survive without the ever-changing wind and powerful storm, even when they have water, sun, and nutrition. Scientists discovered this in 1991. Isn't that interesting that life is full of storm, and those storms are meant to make you and I be even stronger and thrive even better afterward. Now the question is, of course, how do you continue walking through the storm and even better being able to thrive as you walk through the storm and triumph quickly even while you're still walking through the storm. And that is what we are here for. And that's what my specialty really, being a grief transformation coach and speaker and author. I'm here and I'm delighted to be able to help and support you to continue and to not just continue walking through the storm, but to be able to thrive and triumph as you walk through the storm and come out a winner. And I'm Dr. Birgittetan, and I look forward to sharing with you for the next hour.
Over to you, Carol Ann, please.
Okay, thank you, Nomsa. Yes, and good afternoon from London. And as the writing facilitator, what I do is I help support soul-driven entrepreneurs in becoming more productive with their writing. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer
What's
within.
happened to Carol Ann?
Am I not being heard?
Okay, I hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't know how much of that got heard. But
Maybe you might need to start again.
okay, so as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support soul-driven entrepreneurs in becoming more productive with their writing. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within. And being able to write your story is a really important one for your business. And your story is about how you go through these storms, what challenges you overcame. And what I can do is help support you right from that space, because it's a very emotional place to be in when you're attempting to write about it. But I can help you, support you in being able to access that, hold that space so you can write from those emotions, which then connects with your reader, rather than it's being an over the surface sort of observer type description of the storm. You can write from the emotion of it, which is a very powerful place to write from. So that's what I do. So I'm Carol Ann, the writing facilitator. So again, like Brigitte, looking forward to discussing this topic.
Okay, the topic is actually how do you keep walking through the storm of life? It's a very, very powerful topic. And I know Dr. Biggett spoke about the storm.
You're very faint, Nomsa.
Might mean I need to put my earphones. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's louder.
Louder, okay. I was saying Dr. Biggett mentioned the storms, walking through the storms, and Carol Ann just did as well. And when we were trying to log in, Carol Ann was actually struggling to come on. And me and Dr. Biggett, we were laughing. We're like, walking through the storm of life. So we are being tested. So I just like, because I believe Carol Annie chose this topic, and I would love to know what made you choose this topic, or have you been walking through the storm of life, or have you experienced it? Everybody has. I have.
Oh, definitely. It just, I saw that phrase, and it just thought, yes, it is about being able to walk through that storm of life. And I actually saw a quote a while ago, which by Vivian Green, which is, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And I thought, yes, that's what it's about. That's how you can then get through that storm. And life is always presenting us with challenges, with hurdles. And those are the storms. And they can throw us all over the place. They can toss us around. But it's how we deal with it. How can we deal with it so we can get through to the other side? Because the other side, there's this rainbow, there's this sunshine, and there's always rainbows and sunshines through the other side. But again, you have a choice whether you want to sit in it and really be drowned by it, or let yourself use the opportunity, use the experience to go through and out to the other side. So that's what had me choose it and think, yes, it'd be a great topic for us to talk about. So what about you, Brigitte, when you saw this topic, what did you think?
I love this topic because with life, it is not if you are going through a storm of life, it is when. And at the same time, in the strangest way, we even after you go through school of many years, and I have postdoctorate degree, so I think I know schooling, and so school and does not teach you how to prepare for life. School doesn't tell you what to do when grief comes sweeping. It is always fascinating for me. I live in California, where we're supposed to have a lot of earthquake comparatively to the rest of the world. We probably do, and we have earthquake preparedness since you're very young. The school and the community service and on and on and on has this earthquake preparedness program that teaching you what to do when they have earthquake, which is awesome and I think extremely important, and I'm glad they have that. Now I have been in California for 20 something years. I'm yet to experience major earthquake. While in that 20 something years of us living, we will experience storm of life. Now, like Caroline says, there will be rainbow. As Napoleon Hill says, every adversity, every heartbreak, every failure has the seed of equal or greater benefit in it. And at the same time, you got to be able to walk through the storm. And also, that's another key on this topic, actually, to me, is to walk through the storm. You don't pitch a tent in the storm and then accidentally, like Caroline says, get drowned instead of walking through the storm and, yes, receiving and welcoming support, shelter, umbrella or raincoat if you need to, if you don't have one on your own. And so I love this topic because it is something that is so practical for each and every one of us to start with, remembering that all storm pass, but we want to be able to navigate through it smartly so you don't get hit by lightning or drown. What about you, Numsa? What's your experience with this?
I like what Carol Ann was saying and what you, Dr. Pickett, you were saying with regarding the storm. Basically, Carol Ann stole my coat. I had Vivian coat. I came across it. Vivian Green, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like it when you said life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. It's always been my favorite. When I actually joined a dating app, basically I wanted to do some research, and then I decided before I start matchmaking, I needed to see how dating industry work, the apps, how they work, and that quote I just put it there. I wrote my profile and I put a quote that dancing. I love dancing in the rain, and everyone, I was getting lots of attention because my profile was unusual. So I was getting lots of attention, people getting in touch with me, and obviously I had to go on dates with people pretend, basically wanting to know how everything works. And those were storms that I had to go through it in order for me to start my own business. In order for me, when I'm saying matchmaking, why do you need to join a matchmaking introduction agency? Knowing what's happening in the dating industry. So I had to go through the storms. I had to go through meeting men. It's just like you go on dates, and then they'll be like, after the date and meal, they'll be like, can I come to your house? I'm like, for what? Okay, no, that's not how the dating works. So I had to go through that. Yeah, I had to go through all that, just learning how many things about women when they join the dating apps. And I met really nice guys as well at the same time, but I was not able to date them because I had an agenda to go in there. And the nice guys that I was meeting, I was after, because I asked questions, so I had to do my homework. And when you ask somebody questions, if they know that they are actually not sure whether they are looking for serious relationship, they confess straight away. So that's what matchmaking does. So you actually question people. You don't just go on date without questioning people. You question people, and if somebody is just looking for fun, you realize it straight away. So those were the storms that I had to go through setting up my company. And like Carol Ann was saying, sometimes you have to drown. And I had to go through so many challenges through that storm, creating Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency. And but there's a quote, it says anonymous, it says faith does not mean trusting God to stop the storm, but trusting him to strengthen us as we walk through the storm. So I had to trust when I was going through that. I had to trust the journey where I was going. I had to trust, even though some people did not believe in me. I had to understand that it's not their dream, it's mine. So in that way, I had to trust God. I had to trust myself. I had to have faith. But was it easy? It wasn't easy. The whole year, 2018, it wasn't easy. But 2019, that's when I began to see the difference in my brand. Those storms were there, but I began to, when you see people that are judging your company, other companies, and they are believing in you, it makes you want to do more with your work. So That's when I started realizing, when people started recommending me for awards, recommending Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency. That's when I started realizing that actually I am helping people and I am going to the journey where I'm going. So I'm going to keep going. Over to you, Caroline.
Yeah, and then actually you've taken another quote that I found as well that I love. So
Really?
it's like absolutely we're on the same page here today. And it is, yes. And it's that trust and faith that you have that to go through it, and trust that the universe, that God or whoever you believe in is there to strengthen you and hold you. And that's what I ended up having to do. And because one of the challenges I had when I was head of department, everything just seemed to fall apart. And because I was in a space of myself, not really knowing what I was doing, having challenges with staff, the school was going through special measures. I started training in educational kinesiology and brain gym. So my whole world was going, oh, what's going on here? I also then separated from my husband at the time as well. So everything was just, going on. And Joseph Campbell says it beautifully. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And sometimes we're so holding on to how we think things should be. Oh no, this is what I planned. I never ever saw me leaving teaching. It was a profession I loved doing. I'd always, right from when I first went to teach training college, it was what I wanted to do. And even when I got married, had the children, there was still that thought, because I hadn't got a teaching post, but all I could think about was I want to teach. And so I did eventually get a teaching post, albeit not in the age range that I was trained for, because again, life somehow led me on a different path. And instead of getting a post in an infant school, which is what I was trained for, I'd managed to get my degree in maths because of the job that I had at the time. They gave me day release to get that degree. And I ended up teaching in secondary school instead, 11 upwards, 11 to 18 school, and teaching a subject that I love, but hadn't actually trained to teach for, but I enjoyed it. And okay, that had some challenges, but I never saw myself leaving. But as I said, life took its own twists and turns, and things came up, and it came to a point where I had to leave because I felt this isn't where I'm meant to be anymore. I need to step out, train in what I've now started training in, which was educational kinesiology and a lot of other personal development modalities, with a view to I was going to be bringing a new paradigm back into education. That's what I said I was going to do. And I still think that's where I'm at. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was all around mathematics. But I think it's now to do with what I'm now doing, which is to do with writing. I can now see where writing, when you actually work with going back to the basics of learning to write, with handwriting and all the basic work that I do around that helps you with your comprehension and with reading. And that then would help you with your mathematics, because it's the comprehension very often that most people fall down on. They can be really good with the basic arithmetic, but they get to a point where it's the written, worded problems in maths that they just fall apart at. They can't pick out the details that they need to work with. And I know some really able pupils that completely fell apart with worded problems. And it is just being able to understand what you read. And even now, I send emails out or messages to people, and when I get back, I'm going, oh, people can't read. They just can't read. It's completely. I'm thinking, what on earth have they read? Because what I've got back is nothing like what I was asking for, So being able to read and write is really important, but to get the basics in place. So I think I'm drawn to step in a different way, and I'm getting more clarity on it. But it was having that trust to follow the guidance and along the way, weather the storms and the challenges that came my way. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it is, as you say, faith does not mean trusting God to stop the storm, but trusting him to strengthen us as we walk through the storm. And that's the key thing. And I think that's what you were started off with, wasn't it, Brigitte, about the palm tree? It's the wind, and the palm tree needs that wind to strengthen itself, however it does it, but that's how it grows, and that's how it becomes stronger, and it actually flourishes rather than just ending up, probably falling over and not growing. So I love that analogy. That was beautiful. So yeah, we just have to work with what's presented and trust, because it will strengthen us. So what are your thoughts continuing with that, Brigitte?
I love that we discuss about faith, because a lot of people, when they are going through things, or when they are thinking, when you're going through things, or when you think, perhaps you're thinking, okay, I would love something to endeavor something new. Many people, being a coach, many people come and say, I just could not have blind faith. It just, I mean, no, I just not the kind of person that can have blind faith and just, holding that this and that. And there is a difference. There is a difference. And I share, talking about book, I share in my book here, it's right here as well, Seeking Peace, the proven 5 fingers method to thrive through change or life storm effortlessly. And how this is a client experience that I share in there. He said, I just can't have faith in blind faith. And there's a huge difference between having blind faith and having unwavering faith. And it is as if the blind faith is you just kind of like absurdly thinking it's going to happen out of the blue. Having unwavering faith, which is an example I give, this is a book that is it's a story, teaching through stories. And which I've known you back then, Carol, and it might have been a little easier to write, but anyhow, the book's there, and a lot of people love it. And so the teaching through story, which is with Mark, the clients that who experienced this, I gave him an example of blind faith is just you kind of like randomly looking at the ether or something like that. While if you have an unwavering faith, you actually do what you can. Do what you can. Like if, when you are planting trees, for instance, if you plant a trees and some things you plant and they grow rather quickly. If you plant certain things, you see the result within a few months. On the other hand, if you were to plant an olive tree, or what Mark was planting was a plum tree, first of all, when you start planting, it doesn't look anything like a tree. But then you start planting, and unwavering faith. Unwavering faith is you plant the seed and you nurture it and you nurture it and you nurture it. And you know that even though at 3 months and 6 months and maybe even a year, you have not seen anything, if you continue what you're doing, that these things going to grow into a tree. That is an unwavering faith. And everything has its time and its gestations. Like everybody walk through the storm differently. Some people experience a storm of life in a matter of a short time. And at one point in my life, I experienced storm continuously for 2 years. And so everyone has different things, has different journey. But talking about unwavering faith, you want to it's just like when you are growing a tree, you want to say, okay, I can't see this yet, but I'm going to keep taking the steps, and it is sometimes a little easier said than done. But that's when if we were to allow support, we were to allow support in our life to whether how to. If you ask me to plant a tree, the first thing I would do would be to look for support, because I have no idea how to plant a tree and never mind grow it very well, and to have the support, because if you never done it, if you never been through this particular storm, then just like when you're walking through a real storm, you want to have shelter and support through it. That's the same thing. And so I love that how we discuss. A lot of people has confusions about blind faith and unwavering faith there. And we want to have unwavering faith and allow some support as well. What about you? What's your experience in receiving support, Nunsa and Caroline?
I'm actually reading this quote in front of me. It says, because Dr. Biggett, because of your talk, everyone wants happiness. Nobody wants pain. But you can't have rainbow without a little rain, a little pain, rain. So basically, what Dr. Biggett, you were saying, you talk about seeking peace. You talk about blind faith, you talk about time, patience. You have to have support when you're going through challenges. And Carol Ann made me laugh by saying, talking about her meds and saying when she sends people messages how things should be done and she doesn't get what she wants, she ends up thinking, can people read? That's what I got yesterday. So what I do is I have a study buddy before I go, before I send my assignment. I have somebody who have to look at my assignment and criticize me, basically tell me where what's not right, what, and I'll send it off, and she comes back. This woman comes back with so negative, everything negative, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep now. I read it just before I went to bed at 10:30, and I was like, okay. So I just went, I'm gonna go to bed. So I didn't think about it. I was like, let me go to bed and sleep on this. So I woke up this morning. I had to, because she criticized it really badly. So I decided to put it away and then chuck it in the bin and recycling and rewrite again. So if I rewrite again, I'll send it off before I send it off, and basically get her opinion on what she thinks, because she always.
You've gone silent.
Oh, sorry. Instead of being criticized by my tutor, I always send it off to her first, and then she'll criticize me and whatever, she's honest, and then send it back. And so I was like, okay, this is a storm. So I'm gonna. So Carol Ann, you made me really, really laugh, because that's what she said. She goes, can't you just read the question and answer exactly what's been asked?
Yeah, I always used to put that on my students' work. Read the question, answer the question. Yeah.
So she just said, just sit down and answer the questions. Just sit down and relax. Read the question and read the question and answer exactly what you've been asked. And she just put some comment, and she was like, if you can't do it yourself, ask somebody to sit next to you and try to ask them that question to see how they replied. So I was like, when Carol Anna was saying, it just made me laugh. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, but she made me rewrite it anyway. So I just went, okay, I'm going to rewrite it. And it's just one of those it's one of those times where basically when Dr. Biggett, you talk about seeking peace, you basically in life, you're gonna go through something in life. And if you don't know how to deal with it, you're just gonna stop holding on to hope, stop holding on to faith. Because life is full of challenges. Life is full of the unexpected, and is full of so many surprises. And I think that is the most exciting part of life. Just to go through the storm, like Dr. Biggett, you spoke about, you went through storm 2 years. And in that 2 years, when you got your breakthrough, and something you learned something from that storm, and that storm made you stronger. It can either break you, or it can either make you really, really strong. So that's what we have to go through in life. Somehow, when you look at other people that are succeeding, like Dr. Pickett, you were asking me about how am I growing YouTube. I had to go through the storms to actually look at how to grow YouTube properly. I had to go through some research, and by the time when I remember, I was holding my head like this, and I was like, I give up. Then something popped up, and I was like, what? So then I clicked on it, and that's when I actually realized this is what I need to do. But if you don't go through those storms, that you can't learn anything. You have to go through something to be able uh, to actually, like myself. I have gone through. I told myself I was a Christian before, but I wasn't a Christian really, because I dressed up like showing my boobies and whatever. I did so many things, like saying I'm a Christian, but I couldn't understand the Bible. Like Carol Anna was saying, read and understand. So when I actually turned my life completely to Jesus, that's when I had to face the storms. And there were so many challenges that I had to go through. And if I speak to somebody now, if I meet people, like someone now, maybe before I would judge someone, if I see somebody showing their boobies or whatever, they're saying they're Christian, I would judge them. But if I meet somebody, because of the storm where I've been through and where I am today, if I meet somebody who is making the same mistakes that I've made, I will never ever judge them, because I know that the journey of finding out who you really are, it comes with patience. It comes with you searching completely what you want in life and finding that breakthrough. The real breakthrough, when somebody really, really find that breakthrough, they will never look at somebody and judge them. They will just look at somebody and say, you get there. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were telling me that they're going through this, going through this. So I gave her some tip. I was like, do this, do this. But I would love to hear the outcome. You have to do it yourself. I would love to know the outcome when you find what you're looking for. Come and tell me the outcome. Because I've learned that in life, when somebody's going through something, never try to judge them or try to make them wrong, like Carol Ann is always talking about. Don't make yourself wrong, because we learn through the storm, we learn through our mistakes, and we learn through whatever challenges we are facing. So that's when I had to learn. That's why I gave up. I'm about to give. I'm giving up Christmas this year, actually. That's through my faith. I'm actually giving up Christmas because I have asked everybody, because of the storms that I've been through, I have asked, what does Christmas tree represent? No one tells me the answer that I'm looking for. I say, okay, we have a Christmas tree in the house. We decorate the house. We spend thousands and thousands of pounds during Christmas holidays. So I'm interviewing members of my family, asking, how does it represent? Tell me the Christmas tree, because everything we believe in, it represents something. There's nothing that does not represent nothing. Everything represents something. If you see Dr. Biggett says, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. She represents faith. She represents your image. She represents, basically, she's a grief coach. She represents you, you basically living the life of your dream. Basically, she is somebody that you can go and she will help you. She represents something. So I was asking my family, how does it represent? So I was gentle to them. I said, okay, I'm going to stop believing in Christmas trees and Christmas something, spending thousands and thousands of pounds, but I'm not going to stop you guys because that's my beliefs now. So I'm learning to actually let people be, they walk their path and talk their talk. And I'm learning to be me. So those are the storms that have taught me.
And I love what you've been saying there, because I think it is important to recognize that everybody has their own journey and their own experiences. And it's not about rescuing them or trying to stop them from going through that storm. It's about sharing tools or techniques or something that you've got that can assist them. And it's for them to take it up if they so choose to. If they choose not to, then that's their choice, because it's their journey through the storm. But the way you can support them is just offering tips and things that, things that you've experienced. But people don't always take you up on what you've said. Some people do, some don't. And it is holding them in that space of actually seeing them through the other side. In your mind's eye, they found the rainbow, they've got through. And that's the best way that you can support them, because it is their journey. It is their learning journey. And if you try and rescue them and stop them from going through it, then you're stopping them learning some really important lessons. And that actually, if you're not careful, the storm that they then get could be even bigger because they haven't learned that lesson. So we do need to be careful what we're doing. The tendency is to go in and try and rescue somebody and go, oh, no, don't go that way. Just hold that space for them. As I say, it's their journey, it's their learning. And I think it was Brigitte you were saying earlier about school doesn't help you. And I loved what you said about them. They were training you and preparing you for earthquakes. Great preparation. And yes, what about preparing for the storms of life? Because they could have actually brought that into the training in some way, metaphorically. An earthquake, the preparation you've had for an earthquake. An earthquake could be like the storm of life, and this can happen, and just bring in sort of metaphorically. And that would have been some great training in that way. But yeah, you're right. We don't get that training at school to be able to support us, because actually life storms happen at school as well, with our peer groups, with the teachers that we meet. It's all there. That's our learning journey. And we don't make the best of it because we're not taught how to. And that's one of the things that I really, that's something that I've learned and that I put forward. And I keep saying to my grandchildren when things happen to them, I said, there's your lesson. It's got nothing to do with the teacher it's got nothing to do with the subject you're being taught. It's all to do with what's happening with you right now, and what's happening with your friends, or with the teacher, how they're showing up. There's the true lesson. And so I work through that with them when they let me. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. And I say, okay, that's fine. It's their journey. And it's recognizing something you were saying, Nomsa, about not understanding something and getting frustrated. It's recognizing that actually confusion is the gateway to learning. So it's embrace the confusion, because by embracing it and working through it, you then get the learning, the other side. And it's like when you're in that storm, we were talking about, it's about dancing in the rain. We need to be taught how to dance, How do you dance? What is the dance that's being there in that moment? There's so many different dances, so many different challenges that have got their own dance. So again, there's that communication. It's being able to identify, well, what is the dance that's here? And allow yourself to be led a little bit, feel into it and go, okay, what's happening here? And then be able to respond. And it's that movement backwards and forwards and really get to feel what the dance is and learn the steps so that you can take the steps and perform the dance. And that's the beauty of it. As I say, there are so many different dances to learn. But, and I think something that you said, Brigitte, was around the asking and receiving. That is part, that is what a dance is about. You have someone who leads you and you respond. And it is that giving, that taken. Can you ask for support? But when support is given, do you willingly receive it? And I was really not very good at asking for support. When I was, say, head of teacher, I could see I had a new member of staff come in who was second in department. She's absolutely great. And she was great at asking for support. And I'm thinking, what about me? I'm struggling. And I started to realize that I was seen as someone who was really coping very well. But underneath it all, I wasn't. And when I asked for help, I didn't seem to get the help that I wanted. Because what I realized is I wasn't very good at being specific and knowing exactly what help I wanted and being able to ask for it. So that's the dance to learn, being able to ask and then receive and recognize when you are being given support and then being able to receive it. And know that sometimes it's the difference in wording. It's not about helping someone, it's about supporting them. So the question is how can I help you? It's how can I support you? Or saying to somebody, I'd like support in this. That's the key word, is support, not help, because help is a rescue word. That was some distinction that I learned when I was assisting for a training company called Landmark. And I really then got to know the difference between that. And I was able to then accept the support because I understood it was just support. It wasn't someone thinking I needed help and needing rescuing. And I really got to feel that. And I was able to then accept their support and work with it in a different way. And it just made my life so much easier. It's unbelievable, So, yes. Something else you were saying, Brigitte, about the planting a tree and trusting that it will grow into a tree because it doesn't maybe look like one to start with, got me thinking about the story of if you plant a seed, it's trusting that if you nurture it properly, it will eventually sprout. Because if you keep digging it up to see if it's sprouting, it doesn't happen, So again, there's some trust, and it is about what you were saying. It's about nurturing it properly and then just trusting that it'll grow and grow into what it's meant to be. So, we plant many seeds, but we need to nurture them and not keep digging them up and checking, are you growing yet? Because that's a surefire way of them not growing. So, yeah. So what else have you heard in this conversation, Brigitte? Or is there something else you'd like
I love
to?
how you say, at the end of the day, I love how you say how you teach your grandkids, and like this is the lessons from life, and at the same time, as you said, and really with each and every one of us, if they decide to take it, and then how you sometimes decide to not receive support. And isn't that so true with all of us? Isn't so fascinating that I did this the other day. Somebody wanted to support me in something, and back in the day, I used to be to be one of those that I think there is a term called Lone Ranger, where everybody you feel that you got to do everything yourself, and it's gonna make you feel stronger or something like that. And so it's one of those things, and with me, on occasions, that Lone Ranger syndrome still want to relapse, so to say. And I caught myself with that. Somebody was saying something, and I start to say, "Oh, I'll be just fine. I'll be just." I'm like, Burjit, remember. And but that's so true. Everything in life is actually about lesson if you choose to learn. And actually, even when you're going through storm, there are many, many people and life itself, because life's goal is to help you learn and grow, not to knock you out. It's actually has plenty of opportunity to support you. But if you allow yourself to receive support, because many people sometimes, and many people don't know this, those Lone Ranger syndromes, the feeling that you need to be able to do things on your own, the feeling that you got to be able to be strong, and all these things. A lot of people don't realize that those Lone Ranger syndrome, or you feeling that you got to be able to do this, or you feeling uncomfortable to ask for support, is actually a form of fear. It's a lot of people think it's a pride, it's an ego problem. It's not an ego problem. For some people it might be, but even when you have an ego problem, where's that ego coming from? The fear that people might perceive you as weak, while it's actually many times we perceive people who are willing to ask for support, being stronger, and being more aware. It's kind of like the being the analogy that says, okay, if you get lost driving, back in the day before you have 15 GPS, or if you're like me, you can have 3 GPS and still get lost. Whatever. But if you get lost driving and you have a refusal to stop and ask for directions, it's not good for anybody. While if you are in the car and somebody else driving and controlling the steering wheel, and you all get lost, and the person say, okay, we're just going to stop and ask for directions. What do you say to that person? So what do you feel to that person? Well, thank you. We're going to do that instead of keep getting lost. So many people misunderstood that when you stop and ask for direction, when you allow support, that it is actually you are being brave, that you are acting out of love instead of out of fear. Love for yourself, and more importantly, love for your loved one who wants you to be able to be in a better situations, to be able to thrive easily and triumph quickly and easily. And so it's one of those things that a lot of time we don't realize that, and then and that, and the other thing is, like you said, Caroline, it's at the end of the day, it's come to your decisions in life, full of all the experience and things. And what are you gonna decide out of it? Yeah, like Numsa says, do you decide that when you look at somebody going through things, that you're going to decide that they're not capable, they're this and they're that, and judge them? And then more importantly, when you are going through things, what do you decide about your situations and conditions? Are you going to decide, hey, you know what? I'm not succeeding in these things, so I must be a loser. Must be a loser. Or are you going to decide that, well, apparently this is an opportunity for me to learn better from somebody who is an expert and an experience in this. If it's business, have somebody help you with business. If it is something else, with life or with relationship, you have your expert right here. Numsa is the relationship expert. If it's something that you need to transform your result from an experience you don't want, in terms of the grief and significant losses, and I'm here to help you, but you got to decide, what are you going to make out of this? Is it going to be the end? And there's a saying that you don't fail, you can not succeeding in something. And this is something I actually learned very well from my former husband. I remember I failed a board exams. To become an oncologist, you have to take one too many board exams. It was hideous. And I failed one of them. And he says, well, you can not pass an exam, but you don't have to fail. And I said, I just feel like stopping. And he said, well, if you stop, then you fail. But if you don't stop, and I said, well, what if I just go out there and start drinking? And he said, well, if you don't pass, whatever you do, it is, but with the if that detour you, then you choose to fail. But if you keep going in the directions you want, take a break. Take a break, just like when you dance, like Carolyn says, life's a dance. If you get your toes step on really hard, you might want to take a break. Take a break. Let's take a break for a week or a month or something, but then keep going on that. And if you keep doing it, you will succeed. Sure enough, thank goodness for his support at the time. That the next time and he's like, and learn from it. You got your mentor. Who else can we brainstorm to help you? And I did just that with his support, his mental and emotional support at the time, and received support and us very easily actually the next year. And so what do you decide? What do you decide about the situations that you have, whether it's personal relationship and or it is something else? Is what do you decide?
Very, very important to actually seek support, like Carol Anna was saying, and be specific about what kind of support you want, really. And I've learned that the hard way, that I can't do everything. When it comes to life, I can't do everything. I just have to ask help. And if you do ask for help and just communicate your needs, communicate your want, and also choose people that can actually enter your life and support you, because not everyone is meant to support you. Some people, you will seek support and then they'll just bring you down and blame you and say it is your fault, it is this. So you basically want somebody that understands that life is not about perfection, it's about learning through those storms and pulling through it and telling the story after. So I think it will come to an end actually, will come to this storm, and trusting and believing. Just have to trust. But just trust only, it doesn't help. You have to trust to take action and believe. And when you fall, pick yourself up. Any words of encouragement, Carol Ann? Do you have a quote?
Yes, yes, I do. Oh, well, I actually, it's more than a quote, actually. Um, there was something you just said, and I was going to follow it up, but it's gone out of my head now. Not sorry. Um, so I was agreeing with what you were saying. I just wanted to add a little bit to it. But yeah, what I came to me last night as I was again thinking about this topic, and I found myself just singing this song, and I attempted singing it to myself this morning. And I'm thinking, no, I can't do that. So I'm going to say the words of it. It's that it's when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. So I leave you with that song. Go and listen to it and really feel the words of that song, because that helped me many times when I was going through some tough times to remember, yes, just Just keep walking. Ask for help, receive support, and just keep going. Yeah. So what about you, Brigitte? Have you got any last words of wisdom you'd like to leave or tips?
Looks like she's frozen. Hi,
I
Dr.
think she
Brigitte.
has. Oh, Brigitte, come back.
She's frozen.
Ah,
See?
is she? Is
Yeah,
she?
she's frozen. She's frozen.
Okay. What about you, Nomsa? You got something to add just to finish off, or?
I found a quote here actually. It says that if you don't like the road you are walking, start paving another one. By Dolly Parton, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to leave our audience with.
Okay, so say it again a bit louder because I didn't quite hear the last bit of that.
Oh, if you don't like the road you are walking, start paving another one.
Yes.
That's by Dolly Parton. Hey, Dr. Birgit.
Hi.
Hi, she's back. Yes.
Any words of encouragement you like to leave our audience with, please?
Yes, and I would just say to know that you are not alone. That many times we feel so alone when we're going through things in life, and that's very normal and natural. And at the same time, you know that you are not alone. That there are support here if you allow yourself to receive support. And in my experience of of more than 20 years helping people transforming their adversities, when you open your hands up and say, I welcome support, then there is almost consistently, there are always surprise support that will come here. But it is up to you to decide if you are going to allow support and to keep walking through the storm and thrive and triumph easily and quickly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Birgit. So we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. UK time. Please, if you're watching this video later, press some heart button, share some love with your family and friends. And have a lovely weekend, everyone. Live with grace and God bless.